What's up, jabronis? Dan here from Flat Zone Gaming. It may be the 21st century, but we've got 90s fever and we're just itching to spread the love. Why? Because the 90s were rad. So rad that there were a plethora of video game mascots that hit the market in the 90s that were just trying to soak up all the feelings of the decade. Some were sick, while others just flopped. So strap on in as we take you on this 90s nostalgic trip of our top 10 rad 90s gaming mascots. Now, Sonic may seem like a shoo-in for the most rad 90s gaming mascot, seeing how much of an attitude that he has, and you're right, but that was really only shown off in his TV show, and in later games in the 90s he got more and more rad, but he didn't start out like that. Other than that, Sonic was relatively tame given his stature at the time. That being said, he did have some pretty bodacious attributes about him. He can roll around at the speed of sound, he's got his own entourage in the form of miles tails per hour, and in Sonic CD you can tell he doesn't care about the player at all, because if you take too long to move or do anything, he'll just leave the game, giving you a game over. He knows that Amy's been kidnapped, but he doesn't care. He's got stuff to do. He's got his own life to worry about. He doesn't care, and that's pretty dang cool. Amy's probably dead though, and funerals are, for lack of better terms, no good.
That's no good.
You ever hear the term speak softly and carry a big stick? Basically that means that actions speak louder than words, so grab the biggest weapon you can find and just go to town on all the enemies on the screen. But you know what's even cooler? When your body's the weapon, and you don't even need the extra nuts and bolts. Kind of like Bionic Commando. Unfortunately, he's 2 years short of being included in the naughty 90s, but that's okay, because they have their own, arguably more cooler mascot in the form of Dynamite Headdy. Okay, so check this out. Not only does this guy have a body part as a weapon, but it's his frickin' head. He can use it as a grappling hook, a projectile, and as his name might suggest, an explosive device. He doesn't even have a neck, and he still manages to defy all logic and rocks a bow tie. He may be yellow, but Dynamite Headdy ain't no coward. Let's just put this out in the open. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are pretty cool. They're a group of mutant turtles that live in the sewer with a rat sensei, and each of them have their own weapon that relates to their personality, and they constantly save the world from a modern samurai and alien that looks like a placenta.
I made a funny.
That's pretty dang cool. But the Battletoads, that's a horse of a different color, my friends. For starters, they've got their own spaceship/aircraft that they dismount from via a rope. A rope! They may not be fighting samurais or aliens, but they are fighting an evil space queen who kidnapped some princess and their third ally. They aren't saving the world, they're saving the universe. The turtles have their own colored eye masks, which is cool I guess, but why do they need those? It's not like they're hiding their secret identity or anything. They're giant turtles. The options as to who they are pretty limited. But the Battletoads don't do any of that. They've got their own attire. Pimple has black wrist guards, Zitz has black gloves, and Rash is rocking a pair of black cool guy shades. All of them also wear black knee guards, with spikes. Finally, they have a way tougher adventure than the Ninja Turtles ever had, and they always come out on top. Not to mention that they can drive hover bikes at basically Mach speed in tight corridors. Hats off to you, Battletoads, for your radical way of life. Let's just forget your cartoon pilot ever happened, okay? Now on the surface, Punky Skunk may seem like a throwaway mascot. I mean, everything just looks too cutesy and cartoony to be bodacious and rad, but Punky was home to something that was a staple of the 90s, whether you like it or not. Gross out humor. Whether it be throw-up, disturbing close-ups, whatever, the 90s was riddled with it. I mean, look at Ren and Stimpy, arguably the best cartoon of the 90s, and yes, you can fight me on that. Both kids and adults loved watching it, and it was mostly just gross-out humor, but it had a comedic tone that made it the classic that it is today. Punky Skunk also has gross-out humor in the form of his flatulence, which are his main form of attack. But that doesn't take up a majority of the game, as under the oh-so-easy fart jokes, there's an actual game that's actually really fun to play. And just look at Punky himself. He can snowboard down sand dunes in Egypt and pogo his way through the pyramids. And look at that hair. You cannot look me in the eyes and tell me that hair is not rad. It's so weird too because Punky feels so out of place in this world. It's like the exact opposite of the Powerpuff Girls, a cute cartoony world featuring a sharp and edgy hero, and somehow that just adds to his radical factor. Believe it or not, video games weren't the only market to take advantage of the 90s. Many products had cool and hit mascots in order to keep up with the youth of the day. Take a look at Kid Vid, the Burger King Kids Club mascot. If that guy was in a video game of his own, he'd probably be on this list somewhere. But some companies actually did take advantage of the gaming market with their 90s mascot. Yo! Noid and Pepsi Man were released at the beginning and end of the decade, respectively, to promote Domino's and Pepsi, but neither of them really had that 90s feel to it. Well, maybe Pepsi Man a little, but still. Chester Cheetah almost made it since he starred in Chester Cheetah, Too Cool to Fool, and he's rocking those shades, but that run he does is kind of doofy. There needed to be someone that anyone could relate to, something so simple yet so cool that it would blow everyone's minds. Enter 7-Up's mascot, Cool Spot. The design for Cool Spot is actually pretty ingenious. It's a red circle with sunglasses, sneakers, and gloves. That's it. He doesn't even have eyes, he just wears those sunglasses for style. He's so cool, he's got a cool spot on his cool spot. He doesn't even wait for the game to fully load to make his appearance. He can be seen on every single load screen leading up to the beginning of the game. Note, this is all before the game even starts. When you actually get to play the game and start moving, oh boy, just look at that walk! That walk says 1,000 words. He doesn't even need a weapon, he just shoots lasers from his hand. Wait, did Cuphead rip off Cool Spot? But what really cements Cool Spot's place on this list is his intro cinematic. It starts on an ocean, just calm and quiet, and then a wave pops up out of nowhere, and on that wave is a bottle of 7-Up. Then the Spot jumps off the 7-Up label, draws a pair of sunglasses, and I kid you not, starts surfing the bottle to the shore. That alone more than makes up for the fact that it's a representation of corporation takeover and earns a spot on this list. Okay, hear me out on this. Bubsy is actually pretty rad. Let me correct myself. Bubsy was pretty rad. Whether you think he's rad nowadays is a matter of your own opinion, but there was no denying that Bubsy made his name for himself in the 90s. He was a rival to Mario and Sonic, and for the time, Bubsy stood a chance. But let's not talk about Bubsy's gameplay, because that's not what made him cool. First, his attire. With just one article of clothing on him, Bubsy already draws more attention than Sonic or Mario ever could. It's clearly saying, hey, look at me, I'm the one you should be giving all your love and attention to, not that blue hedgehog or that fat plumber. Second, his wit. Bubsy may not be the best at making comebacks or witty remarks, but that's because he's too busy coming up with puns and wordplay that's so bad that it's actually amazing. With titles like Claws Encounters of the Third Kind, and Forbidden Planet, and A Bridge to Fur, he does really like fur, I've seemed to notice that. It's not hard to imagine what else Bubsy has up his sleeves. Let's also not forget that neither Sonic nor Mario had a signature catchphrase. You know, something they could say on a daily basis and can be easily recognizable and tied back to them. With Bubsy's catchphrase, however, well, what could possibly go wrong? Also, this may not be technically Bubsy canon, but we here at Flat Zone pitted Bubsy up against Gex in our Versus series Limit Break. While we won't spoil what happens, we will say that this battle is pretty spectacular, and you should definitely check it out, after this video of course. Here's to you, Bubsy, for your radical sense of humor. Let's just forget your cartoon pilot ever happened, okay? There's always some sort of king to every kind of media. Elvis is the king of rock, Michael Jackson is the king of pop, Burger King is the king of burgers, and the king of the cosmos is, well, your guess is as good as mine with that one. In our minds, though, there's only one true king, Duke Nukem.
Hail to the king, baby.
What exactly is Duke the king of, you may be asking? Well, he's the king of violence, the king of one-liners, the king of killing aliens, and all around just the king of video games. He looks like Guile from Street Fighter, only with guns and ammo strapped to every inch of his body. He stopped an alien invasion on multiple occasions and can get any girl he wants with just the flick of his wrist. If he can be voiced by the same guy who voices Big the Cat in Sonic Adventure and still have one of the most badass voices in video game history, then you know that this game has Rad written all over it. Now, Duke ain't the most original character when it comes to this kind of hero. Doom Guy and BJ Blazkowicz from Doom and Wolfenstein 3D respectively both came before and have arguably lasted longer than Duke, but they never really had that "yeah, I know I'm so cool" kind of vibe that Duke has. And I haven't even brought up the one-liners.
I've got balls of steel.
Playing this game makes me feel like I want to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of gum. There's really nothing else to say about this guy, so I think it's just time that we hail to the king, baby. I don't mean to backtrack here, but can we take a look at Kid Vid one more time? Like, geez Louise, he's got gadgets everywhere. Like, who even has knee packs to hold gadgets? What's in there, a PDA? With all these gadgets, you'd think he probably has like a power cord or something coming out of his butt that he plugs into all the walls in order to charge up or something. Well, if that was the case, and he was in video games, and also a duck, he'd probably be Socket. Socket is a duck that has a power cord coming out of his tail feather region, quote unquote, and every level he has to charge his body by plugging in his tail, I guess, into this generator type thing, and then he's ready to take on the level. I'm gonna level with you guys, Socket is just a ripoff of Sonic the Hedgehog. But hey, that's another thing that the 90s were well known for. Rip-offs. Like, if you thought Bubsy was bad, oh boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. But that's a list for another day. Anyway, Socket took the 90s feel of Sonic and amped it up by at least 10,000%. He literally looks like a duck version of Ness from Earthbound with a plug tail. Not only that, but the level design and the feel of the game was so much more of that weird 90s feel than Sonic was. Instead of collecting rings, Socket collects electricity bolts. He can even glide through the air given that he has enough momentum. He shoots electricity out of his plug tail as his main form of attack. You can't make this up. Screw a blue hedgehog that can run at the speed of sound. Here comes an electric duck that runs at the speed of light and can shoot electricity. Need I say more? It was very rare to see a rad mascot share the spotlight with another rad mascot. Like, the whole point of being rad is that you could take care of any problem on your own, no sweat. Basically, it was showing off the macho side of said mascots. Yet somehow, the titular dynamic duo of ToeJam and Earl pulled it off. The aesthetic of both these characters just screams 90s. ToeJam's rocking the backwards cap and golden chain, while Earl has got those cool guy shades and some jammin' shorts. Actually, everywhere you look in this game, it's all reminiscent of the naughty 90s. The music, the backgrounds, the walk cycle, like you really can't make this up. They're aliens that come from the planet Funkotron on their righteous Ratmaster rocket ship and teleport using an interdimensional elevator. Like, I know I said this 20 times already, but I mean, you really cannot make this stuff up. What makes both these characters equally rad is actually the way the game was developed. You could play the game single player as either ToeJam or Earl, or you could play co-op. But what's different about the co-op adventure is that ToeJam and Earl can go their own separate ways and go on their own private mini-adventures of their own. They say nay to the non-righteous stereotype of the Player One syndrome and follow their own path, the righteous path, the rad path. So it's one thing to think that you're rad. You know, you're the guy, the most hip and cool dude with attitude. But if others don't think that you're rad, then you're basically a joke, a laughingstock if you would. And no, I don't mean the people playing the game thinking that someone is rad. I mean that the people in the game need to think. No, they need to know that this individual is rad. And there's no embodiment of what I just described better than Radical Rex. It's not Rex who just happens to be a radical personality. No, no, no. From the moment he was born, his parents knew that he was gonna grow up to be radical. And from that day on, Radical Rex did all he could to prove to his parents that he could be the most radical mascot there was. He tried skateboarding and using a pogo stick and all the other things that would consider him radical, and while that did help, it didn't get him to top tier radical status. It looked like all hope was lost for Radical Rex, but then luck struck. He got his very own theme song declaring exactly how radical he was, as well as other terms that are considered synonymous to radical. You can show me your punky skunks and sockets all you want, but unless they've got a whole song dedicated to them about the radicalness of their personalities, then they are nothing compared to the one, the only, the radical, Radical Rex.
He's my real cool radical Rex. He's my real cool radical Rex. He's my real cool radical Rex.
Hey, it's that time in the video again when we count down our top Patreon supporters here at Flat Zone. So a special thanks to Percy Simmons, Homer Manfan, Stealth Zombie Snake, Adam, and Carnivalia's Ringmaster for their generous donations.
Calm down. No, 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 no. Fire, para, para, para.